Disclaimer. We are regular guys who love to talk Bone Thugs and Harmony. We do not represent Bone Thugs or any Bone affiliate. We are also not Bone Thugs experts. The views and information you hear in this podcast may be based on personal opinion. Please feel free to leave corrections and clarifying information in the comments. And enjoy.
Better not be so quick to test us, 'cause it will come to kill you now. We'll kill you bow. Better not be so quick to test us, 'cause it will come to kill you now.
Bobby was really smart when it came to, drum sounds and drum machines and MPCs and, but Archie, he had like one keyboard that cost like $3. And, he wasn't up on it. So Bobby Jones could relate his own to, out of his own mouth what he wanted to do or wanted me to do. But Archie wouldn't have been able to. So what Archie did, I think at one point, he went to Lazy and said, man, your nigga Rome's cold-blooded, but he needs to try to play it the way I said to play it. And Lazy, and that's how Lazy, and I wanted to make that point earlier, that's how Lazy goes to bat for his people. That nigga came on me like, nigga, you need to play it the way my nigga said play it. And, that sort of thing. Archie's a great guy, though, man. We were on the phone last week, and it was so good hearing his voice. I almost started crying. Great guy.
So we're Archie and Bob set to have Archie on the show and Bobby on the show. And coincidentally, I don't know if Archie and Bobby maybe haven't spoken in a while, but they both saw the status that we were interviewing you. And Archie jumped on and was showing Bobby love. So that all came off of this interview. Archie and Bobby talking. When we hang up, I'm sure you'll see the conversation.
Which will be huge because you're talking about three Mo Thug producers. But, one of them, myself, I continued on with them with Bone throughout. I mean, for 20 years, I still fuck with him. And then Bobby, he started his own production company, Bobby Jones. In fact, he had an artist, I forgot her name, but I ended up going over to his studio and playing on his artist stuff. But then Archie, out of the three of us, I think his health deteriorated, and it really bothered me when I talked to him last week. And he wanted to talk to Lazy, and he did, and because some shit went down, and I was in the middle of it, but never knew I was in the middle of it until 20 years later, and it really upset me, because I'm, as you know, so my personality, you hear me talk. I'm not a street. Listen, I can't go there if somebody fucks with somebody. There's some death. But some stuff went down where one of the producers called Relativity Records because the paper wasn't right or whatever the beef was, right? For years, I'm talking 20 years, Lazy Bone thought it was Archie. And I just found this out last week with Archie on the phone. And he's like, Romeo was out. I said, Archie, man, God, it's so good to hear you. And then and Rob was on the phone, Rob that we're talking about. He had facilitated this phone call. And he said, man, really bothering me. I have to tell you this. I said, please, tell me. And he said, did somebody call Relativity and say the paper wasn't right? And I said, well, when did that happen? He said, back when we were doing our thing. I said, nigga, I did. And he said, well, Lay and them don't know that. They thought it was me this whole time, and we came up together. We boys. So Lazy hadn't talked to me since. I was like, you bullshitting, Archie? He said, I am not bullshitting, man. I'm telling you right now, I'm not doing too well. I'm on dialysis. I might not live long. I was like, okay, dog. I said, if I don't do nothing else, I'm going to talk to Lazy. Because I was very upset about that. Because I'm the one who called Relativity. And it didn't have anything to do with Archie or Bobby Jones or Lazy or anybody, actually. It was, I would send my invoices in fax from Private Island Track Studios. It would go through the fax machine, and it would go into Sony. Well, a couple of them didn't go through because, fax machines aren't that reliable. So I called them. I said, hey, did you guys get my last two invoices? Yeah, we got them. I said, all right, man. Well, I just want to make sure, that the gravy train keeps going. And, well, somebody said that one of the producers was talking to Relativity. But, you see, I had a relationship with Relativity before I started working for those guys. And so I told Archie Blaine that. And he says, man, for so long, I was wondering who fucked me. I said, well, Archie, nobody fuck you. But I used to talk to Relativity all the time. I used to borrow Cliff Coltrane's amp collection for my guitars. And he said, man, Lazy didn't see it like that. He saw it like somebody was trying to stab him in the back. I said, oh, my God, I got to talk to Lazy. So I said, Rob, get Lazy. So Rob got Lazy almost immediately. I was like, and we were on the three-way. I said, Lazy, I have to apologize. Archie didn't do anything wrong. And something bad happened to Archie. Like some niggas saw him. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, they thought he was doing some backsided shit, but he wasn't, man. Archie is such a good dude.
Do you think that could have, eventually we saw all the Mo Thugs depart, but the family reunion, we saw very limited Too True. Did that?
My friend, that had a lot to do with Too True, because what happened, we did Too True's record, and then right after, I'm not sure, I did another one, and then Poetic Hustler. But Poetic Hustler got all the light, and the record started going out. Too True, maybe 2 songs went out, Take Your Time, or whatever it's called, I forgot. And that was it. They kind of got buried. And I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I really don't. But I wanted Archie and Bobby Jones to know that they didn't do anything wrong. Nobody called Relativity. They didn't know how to call Relativity. They didn't have the number. I'm the only one that had access to get to Relativity. So I let Lazy know. I said, that was me, man. He said, man, all these years I thought Archie, because Archie's my people, man. I thought you called to complain. I said, I don't think so, man. I called, but I wasn't complaining. I was just wondering how come my invoice didn't get through and the goddamn fax fucked it up at Private Island Track. And he said, you don't know what that means to me, man. That means a lot. After all this time, Archie said, well, hell, I can go on and die now. It's like, I said, man, you ain't going to die. So I'm going to see him when I go to the film festival, Cleveland Film Festival, next 2 weeks. I'm going to see Archie.
Wow. I'm really happy to hear that you reconnected Archie and Lazy, because it is.
And Bobby, too, man. I love Bobby Jones. He's one of my favorites of everybody. I mean, Archie, too. I have to tell you, Archie was deeper than Bobby. Archie went deep with Bone, because there's a story there. Archie was recording demo tapes out of his basement or something. Archie was the guy who was doing all that initial stuff. So he was very deep with Bone. And for him to get blamed for something, that really upset me a lot, because I felt like over something that I may have done. I don't know if I did something wrong or not, but I just called to say, hey, man, where's my fucking invoices, the fax machine? Because, it would go through, and then Steve, they'd send a check, and Steve was kind of handling all that kind of stuff. And then somebody told him that one of the producers called complaining to Relativity. Well, I was complaining, but not about Lazy or Crazy or anybody. I was complaining because the fucking fax didn't work, little stupid shit that doesn't really happen nowadays because technology is better. But if you're thinking about 1996 or 7 or something, whatever it was, and how good was a fax machine back then? Not too good.
Right. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
It made me feel good to clear that up, though, especially with Archie. He was such a sweet guy, really a sweet guy, and Bobby too. Yeah. Bobby Jones, salt of the earth, really good guy. So was Archie, man, a good dude. So for years, I think maybe some of the Bone members or Lazy was mad at Archie because they thought he had done something wrong and went outside of sort of the Bone thing. And I told Lazy straight up, I said, nah, I didn't know I was doing anything wrong, but I called Cliff. Before I met you niggas, I knew Cliff and Alan. I used to use Cliff's amp collection, when I was touring with these rock bands. And he said, oh, nigga, that might have cleared up a lot of shit. I was like, yeah, I wish somebody would have told me. I'd have cleared it up way before then.
Right. I wish they would have asked earlier. Who knows the music that could have been created. But hey, it all works the way it's supposed to. I'm glad to hear that, Archie and Bobby are in the fold, because, hey, that's a little bit of mystery to the fans. What happened to, Archie and these previous guys. Mystery kind of surrounds the Bone universe. I mean, I think we, as fans, that's part of the draw, is especially during the beginning, there was so much mystery and mystique. One of the things that I think fans are completely in the shadows about that you're going to be able to tell a lot about is the Night Riders project. We talked about this briefly, you and I, and there's so much just complete mystery, and it's more than just mystery like, ooh, we wanted to make a spooky mystery. Like, there was a purpose behind there being so much unknown about that project, right? I mean, crazy. What was the purpose?
Well, I think, when I think about the Night Rider project, that's Crazy Bones' thing, and there was supposed to be mystique around it. And I'll tell you, Crazy Bone is a complicated sort of cat. Is a musical genius, I think. But he's also a killer. And Crazy Bone, when he got quiet, some shit was about to happen. I'm telling you, he's the one. Lazy Bone is all loud and in your face, and Busy Bone. But Crazy Bone, when he got quiet, you should run like some shit. And so the Night Riders thing was sort of Crazy Bone's alter ego. And, and when he told me about it, he's like, I'm going to do Night Riders, nigga. It's kind of like going to be like Graveyard Shift, but even crazier, like deeper. I was like, how can you get deeper than that? All right, this is what we're going to do. And so he started doing Night Riders. Now, I wasn't so much involved in it because I didn't like it so much. And I'll tell you why. There was a lot of subsonic stuff done to his voice and pitch stuff, like in the lower register, like different stuff like that. And
they did that with all.
Yeah, and it was supposed to be more like Ouija board shit, because I think Eazy-E got them into that Ouija board shit, back in the day. But I'm not into that. I'm more of I try to be more of a positive light side of things. And when Tombstone got killed, I got dark. Believe that, because like I said, I went to New York, got a van, loaded it up with shit, and drove to Cleveland. I wanted some answers, and luckily, there was two or three decent police dudes, like a sergeant and a lieutenant, and they were actually decent. Otherwise, there might have been some really bad shit that went on, and I would have probably ended up in jail, because I was looking for a fight. I was looking for a bad time. But there was actually a sergeant and a lieutenant that came out, and he said, man, listen, let me just talk to you, a brother here. He said, some of these things go unsolved. We don't know what happened. We don't. I'm like, but you could know what happened if you really took your resources. He said, this is Cleveland. This is not Los Angeles or New York. We don't have the financial wherewithal to take 5 detectives and put it on that. We don't have it. And then I got it. I was like, yeah, that's probably really right. So it was kind of back again. It comes back to common sense. So the reason they couldn't solve that crime is because they didn't have 5 detectives working on it, and I wanted to know why. And I was mad. And I had a van full of shit. You know what I'm saying? That we was going to find out, or we was all going to be dead or 6 feet under. I mean, that's how mad I was, because I really love this cat.
Finn was in that same that same boat with you. In fact, he completely distanced himself. I think it was until the Night Riders, right? I mean, before that, he was fucking totally out of the picture.
Well, because
Finn must have found a place.
By the way, Graveyard Shift is the only one of all of the Mo Thugs that had a different manager outside of Cleveland. The manager, his name was Funzel, he's from Los Angeles. And so, in other words, Graveyard Shift was probably going to go in a totally different direction. We were going to do, the Bone Mo Thug tour, but then, we had talked Relativity, and we had management in Los Angeles, and he was actually a very smart guy, and we were going to do some other stuff. And he was the only one out of all the Mo Thug that Graveyard Shift was the only one that had I don't want to say real manager, but he was a real manager. Still is. He's still a friend of mine. So,
Finn must have eventually found his peace with the situation, because like we were talking about, he did end up, back with Crazy Bone, in the Night Riders. Like you were saying, they did do a lot of really weird fucking shit with their voices, and that was, of course they didn't tell people, hey, this is Mohart and Sin and
right.
All,
Yeah,
so,
they use harmonizers and different things on their voice to make it sound weird, high and low, and a lot of low stuff, a lot of dark stuff. I mean, that was Crazy Bone singing. But yes, Finn made peace with it because he was in the Night Riders. So, and I did a lot of recording with Night Riders. I would just do tracks, and then they would do whatever they wanted to do on it. But I didn't see a long situation with that. I didn't see longevity with Night Riders because I wasn't really that much into it. I would give Crazy any tracks he wanted to, of course. But the Night Riders wasn't really about tracks or music. It was really about what they were saying and how they were saying it with their voices on the, on the harmonizers and stuff like that. So it wasn't, completely void of music, but it was definitely very, very different. So
at that point, we know that Tamika, this is Thug Mentality 99, the first time we saw the Night Riders. We know that, the first two fucking Mo Thugs, Heaven's Movie, a lot of those have, I believe it's Sony, you were saying, has, ownership over those.
Yeah.
Was the Night Riders a way potentially for Crazy Bone to make some music that Tamika didn't have her hands on? Did they keep that so secret about the members that even behind the scenes a lot of people didn't know, or was it pretty known, this is fucking Crazy Bone and a bunch of ex-Mo Thugs?
They did want anonymity. You kind of knew because, Crazy, I don't care what you do to Crazy Bone's voice, it's Crazy Bone because he's got that flow. He's just so good. But they wanted anonymity. It wasn't because of Tamika. They talked a lot of shit about it, but it wasn't because she could do something. They wanted anonymity because they were supposed to be a hit squad. They were going after people. So, voice-wise, rap-wise, they were going after people, and they were going to be going after people. So it's not like you want to rap about it so the hip-hop cops in New York come after you. So that's why they disguised their voices or something like that. It wasn't about Tamika getting a piece of it because there was a deal drawn up between Relativity and Ruthless. And so, a lot of the angry stuff that Busy talked about with Tamika, and she's the devil and, all that kind of stuff, that didn't have nothing to do with records moving forward with Relativity. Because Heaven's Movie was Relativity. It was just that the original contract that they signed was so shitty, and Bone Thugs and Harmony, the original Bone Thugs and Harmony with DJ Unique, those hit records, they sold enough to make them all rich like Beatles, but they weren't. And so that was the big beef between Tamika, Ruthless, and Bone Thugs and Harmony. Didn't have a lot to do with, because business is business, and Sony is Sony, and they're going to talk to Ruthless and say, okay, we're going to give you 3% on 3 royalty points on whatever record, and she said, okay. So there wasn't any real fighting going on there. The fighting with Busy and, all the stuff that he wanted to do to her because of that, because she was holding on to an old contract that a dead man had signed them to, and they really should have renegotiated that. And that's why they were all mad. Because if you think about it, Crossroads, Person of the Month, and Thuggish Rug, we're talking about songs that Look Into My Eyes and If I Could Teach the World. We're talking about hit songs that were huge. That should have made them Beatle fucking rich. But it didn't. They had to make their money on touring. Because
the way I've always understood was they got signed to, what could definitely be said like a fucking sucker deal, but they were, at that time, they're nobodies from Cleveland. Eazy-E gives them a chance. And I've always understood that it was under the, the understanding like, hey, if y'all motherfuckers do good, then we're going to renegotiate this. But he died before that happened, and Tamika said, nah,
right.
This is
That's exactly
what
happened. That's exactly what happened. They were to renegotiate the contract, and because they did do great, and Eazy did tell him, look, you guys do great, well, I'll fix the contract for you. But he died before he had a chance to do that. And Tamika,
did that just expire? Did that just? What happened with that deal? Like, how did they finally? Because I remember when they finally, it was like, we're the fuck off of Ruthless, and then it was like they were gone, and then they kind of had to go back and complete like one more album, and that's how that Thugs album came out. Busy wasn't even fucking with him, but he was even on that project, and
yeah, he was
you could tell they did the
it.
music video separate. What happened? I mean, did that just expire?
Yes.
How the fuck did it get out?
It finally expired because I believe they owed 7 or 9 records to Ruthless. After you deliver your 9th or 7th, I forgot which one it was, then you got to go do something else. Now, Busy, after that 3rd record, he was renegotiating, and, they could go do what they want. But if you think about it, a few of those huge hits came after he died, and Tamika said, fuck off, basically. She didn't want to hear it. There was no renegotiation. There was no nothing, which really sucked for them. It really sucked for them. Because like I said, they should be Beatle rich. And I want to say one other thing that's very important. You have, you say the best rap group ever. That's a fact. But then you have, the solo guys like Tupac and Biggie and all these great ones and this and that and the other. Crazy Bone could have been that too. Don't be twisted on this fact. Crazy Bone, if you look at the early videos or the early anything, what's happening in those videos? Crazy Bone is kind of, starting the song and directing them. Blah, blah, blah. Crazy Bone could have been that. And there were talk that he might have been that. But he was not leaving his dudes. Because he could have been, a Tupac. I mean, Crazy Bone could have been a whatever he wanted to be. That guy's so talented. But Busy could have too. And Lazy could have too. They all are 3 completely different sounds. Busy Bone is a singer. Crazy Bone is a singer. You know what I'm saying? So you could do a lot with each member in that. But they couldn't do anything until they finished their last records for Ruthless. And that's Ruthless. Because that's kind of your, we're talking about the high point of your life and your career were those first 9 or 10 albums.
Yeah. And
what do you think?
Question,
so what would you think? What would you think if you just made a song called Crossroads? If I could teach the world to sing, if I could do this, those hit songs, but you have to tour to make money, what would you think? I mean, I'd be pretty fucking mad.
Yeah.
That's that Berry Gordy, Motown shit. That's that,
These guys have every reason to be, fucking pissed, about that deal. And again, I mean, the deal, and I obviously don't know the details of the deal, but I mean, from what I hear, it makes sense for some brand new fucking guys from Cleveland that you don't know about that, don't have a record. And, it makes sense that Eazy-E would have renegotiated. I think a lot of people that talk about Eazy say that Eazy was a gangster, but he was fair to the people around him.
No doubt.
That deal, because we know the best and biggest hits of their lives, with the exception of maybe I Tried later on when they finally got to full surface, right. Their biggest hits happened through those records. Do these guys Absolutely. At this point, do they see a piece of those records now, or is that still Ruthless and they're not seeing Eternal, Art of War, Creepin' money?
I can't talk about, in particular deals, but they are still absolutely ruthless. So,
wow.
I have to say, Tamika is a very rich woman. So, yeah.
That's crazy. So, it's too bad. You got to hope that, Bone, and it's absolutely possible for Bone to have another hit. Again, I Tried is proof of that these guys could have another hit at any time. I believe that when they went to full surface, when you were saying Crazy Bone could have been a breakout solo star, I thought he had a huge fucking chance when he finally went to full surface. Originally, he went there on his own. It looked like he was going to run a solo deal. He brought Bone in, and I Tried. And 2007, all of a sudden, Bone are mega fucking stars again. Seemingly by that point, it looked like, Bone had maybe fallen off. Busy's been out of the group for a while. Their last 2 projects are, flop kind of Thug Stories and then the last Ruthless album. Do you think that record helped save these guys? I mean, it was the kickstart that they needed.
Well, you mean the second kickstart?
Technically, because I mean, Strength and Loyalty. I mean, they were kind of down and out by that point, and I mean, Strength and Loyalty really just brought these guys. I mean, they had the Mariah Carey track, the Akon track. Not to mention working with Swiss Beats alone at that time period was a big deal. A lot of Bone fans hate that fucking record, though.
I love it.
Yeah, it did give them a little boost. But you have to remember, with Bone Thugs and Harmony, they are one of the most touring groups that I've ever had the pleasure of being around. So they're never down and out. Record-wise or fan base, they could think, oh, they didn't do so good because that record didn't do so good. But Bone Thugs and Harmony, as long as I've known for 23 years, there's going to be a promoter somewhere that's going to tour them. So they always make their money and do well. Now, Beatle type money, they should have made that on those first 9 records that Ruthless kind of took from them. And that bothers me. That bothers everybody. But yeah, they always will. Like, for instance, let's just say Lazy Bone. He's like, oh man, I want to buy a new house or something like that. Because he bought that huge property in Atlanta, and then he's back in LA now. And let's just say he wants to buy a new house. You know what he does? He will just call up Steve Lobel or Jamie Adler or Rob, the booking, and he will book. If you look at the new tour schedule, did you see Jamie Adler put out a new tour schedule on online or something?
No, I hadn't seen Jamie post anything. I did get.
Well, he might not have posted anything, but I have their tour schedule for the summer because I'm gonna go out and do some shows with Lazy and maybe Crazy. But I'll send it to you. They work because it's not fucking classified secret shit. They have a tour schedule. My friend, these dudes are gonna work so much this summer. Every summer, these dudes work all year round. They can work and they make money. So they're never really down and out. Record sales wise, yes, they have their ups and they have their lows, but during those first 9 albums, which ends up being 12 or 13 years, they weren't seeing that money anyway. You got to look at it like that. So they kind of live off of their touring.
Before we wrap up, because it has been it's been an amazing interview, but there's a huge piece I got to make sure that we touch on because it's current, it's Romeo, it's Bone, and it's very important. We've talked about it a little bit. The Sons of Sinclair documentary. Tell me about that. How did you get involved with that? When you told me, hey, I'm working on this, I was like, holy shit, I had no idea that you were also involved with that.
Well, there's a few things that there's more we should probably talk about, and I'm sure we'll set up another call and talk about more. But Sons of St. Clair, that project started 3 years ago. It didn't start off as Sons of St. Clair. It started off as a campaign for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So these guys, I know these filmmakers, they came to me, Tanner Baird, Silver Sail Entertainment, and Tim Newfang. Another actor friend of mine said, hey, man, these guys are trying to do a Bone documentary or something, and I told them they need to talk to you. And so he set up a meeting between myself and the head of Silver Sail Entertainment, which is Tanner Baird. And so I met him, we had coffee and we talked and this and that and the other. He says, hey, man, I want to make a deep documentary on Bone Thugs and Harmony. I said, oh, are you a fan? And he says, no, not at all. But my director for my company is. And I said, oh, who is he? He says, oh, his name is Tim. And he says, well, I want to hire you and bring you on as producer because everybody says to get close to Bone, you should know Romeo because he's about as close as you're going to get to the entire organization, meaning Bone and Mo Thug. And, you know, the ins and outs, pretty much all of it. I mean, I've been around 23 years, you know. The only other guy that you can talk to is Steve Lobel, and he's not as approachable, or he's not as accommodating as I am. You know, I would do this, and I would see it as something that I would do because I love Bone Thugs and Harmony. I believe they should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm not doing it to see a dollar. I'm doing it because I need to see them. They deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I told Tanner, I said, many people have come to me over the past, I'd say 10 years, or even more, maybe 15, and Steve Lobel to do documentaries on Bone. Steve tells them to fuck off, and then they come to me. And I have to know if you guys are serious. And he says, yeah, we're serious. You know, I come to you from this other actor and this other da-da-da. So I checked him out. He was a real cat, right? And I said, all right, we'll do it. And I said, well, what's your timing on it? And he says, well, they won't go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame at least till 2019 or 2020. So we have as long as you want. I said, okay, because it's going to take a while, because to keep those guys wrangled in for any length of time to do anything, it's going to take a while. It's not like overnight type stuff. And so that's how it started. And that pretty much a week later, you know, I talked to Lazy, I talked to Crazy, and I said, I have a film crew, and we're going to follow you around throughout for your next year and a half, 2 years of tours. And I need these guys to have all access. And I'm going to have cameras on stage and in the audience, and I need interviews from each one of you dudes. And they said, all right. And then so the first guy we interviewed was Crazy Bone at his store in downtown LA. It's called Thug Line, or what's
the
label?
Life. It's the Life now. Yeah, he changed it to the Life.
Yeah,
the Life apparel.
So we went downtown LA to the Life. That was the first interview we did. We set up cameras. We did like a 4-hour interview. Crazy Bone doesn't do a 4-hour interview for nobody. You're lucky if you get 30 minutes. But that's my cat. So I was like, listen, man, this is for you guys. This is not for me or these filmmakers. We're trying to get you in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So he did like a 4-hour interview with lights and, 3 camera shoot, all that kind of stuff. It was great. And then the next guy, because I said to the guys, to Tanner and Tim, I said, we need to get these guys in a particular order or it's not going to work. And he said, well, I said, we need Crazy first, because if you get Lazy first, you won't ever see Crazy. And he says, why is that? I said, man, believe me, it's an order you have to get them in, or you might not see the other one. It's just some stuff that you'll learn once you meet them. And so Crazy gave me the first interview, like I said, for us that time in the store. And then I saw Lazy. I said, hey, Lay, we're going to do some interviews with him. So we saw him, we were out. I got the tour schedule, so I took the film crew pretty much every date. And so we caught Lazy, I don't know, Chicago, somewhere. And they were going to New York. And I said, okay, let's get you hugging me? Oh, no. And I said, hey, we have to get Lazy on the next tour. And so after, what the hell's going on out there? So after that, I forgot where we were, but after Lazy said, all right, let's do it tonight. I was like, all right. So he came to the hotel. We set up cameras and the whole bit, and that went to about 6 or 7 in the morning. I mean, that was the longest one. That was very super long. Lazy's that guy, man. He gave me all of that time. Listen, at the end of the day, it's for them, but sometimes they don't recognize what's best for them. If Steve Lobel said, let's do it, they would have never gave him that, because they have a different relationship with Steve. Steve and Bone is all about money. Okay, I'm doing this, I get paid that. It's not like 3 years from now. It's right now. If I do this right now, I get that. And that's kind of what like an agent, or let's say like a touring manager does. You get a tour, you get paid. This is something that, even though we finished the first bit, Sons of St. Clair, we're far from finished. I mean, there's 6 dudes in Bone, or 5. And so we're going to do like a 6-part thing. So we did Crazy, Busy, and that's sort of the film festival circuit that we're on right now, and it's called Sons of St. Clair. Well, they're all Sons of St. Clair. So in talking to, I talked to some people at Netflix, at FX, and different, places, Amazon, And it might be one big movie or a 6-part miniseries or something like that. But we have to get them all. So the next one we go after is Lazy Bone, and Lazy gets his own. You got Crazy and Busy, but Lazy gets his own 2 hours. It's 2-hour piece because there's Mo Thug. Lazy is Mo Thug, no matter what. At the end of the day, Lazy's Mo Thug. So that's going to be really interesting for me because I feel like I'm a part of Mo Thug. Well, I am a part of Mo Thug. You got Lazy and you got all the Mo Thug guys. I mean, we're going to interview everybody in Cleveland. I've already got Soulja Boy and got a bunch of guys. The guys from Poetic Hustler. It's funny. I was in Cleveland and I called all my Mo Thug. I was like, yo, man, come to the hotel. Tony Tone from Poetic Hustler is a minister. He's a preacher.
Yeah.
I was like, no way. I didn't know that until, I don't know, it was about 6-8 months ago. We were in Cleveland. And he's a minister. And I was like, wow. Boogie, he's the opposite. Boogie's still Boogie. Boogie's still trying to, drink as much as he can drink or whatever he could do. I felt bad for him. I was like, man, can you get home? Because you look like you done drank too much. And then there's Mohart. I mean, I know, all of them. They're all like very good friends of mine because when you make a record together, it kind of gives you a bond for the rest of your life. And so, but Soulja Boy's interview was super, super interesting because he talked about a lot of things that weren't good. A lot of the interviews, they're good, but in a movie, it's not all good. You really have to, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Soulja Boy brought some good, and he brought some bad and ugly, too, when it came to jealousies and different things that were going on with girls and, women and, so that's going to be very interesting, the second part of some of the things.
Are those type of things, are those type of things making the cutting room floor, or are those type of things kind of being left out of, a huge documentary like this? Like the more...
I can tell you.
That happens a lot, I'll say, in the Bone world.
Well,
I'll
just tell you, I'm a little upset with the first bit. The first from the St. Clair that, it's winning all the awards. That pretty much every film festival we go to are winning. I'm upset with that because I want more of the truth. And the director, his name is Tim Newfang, very good director. He's very seasoned. He knows what he's doing. He does all the Gatorade and the NFL commercials. He's very good. But he's a fan of Bone Thugs-n-Harmony. So can he really be objective? That's what I have to ask. The very first time we were on stage with cameras, Tim was like, super happy. He was like, oh my God, I'm on stage with Bone Thugs-n-Harmony because he loves Bone Thugs-n-Harmony. But can you really be objective? And that's the thing. So the first one, it's done well, of course. Tanner's very objective because he is not a Bone Thugs-n-Harmony. So he could give a shit. He likes, country western or rock, whatever. He's from Texas. He wears, he's a cowboy. And in fact, I was talking to him about directing Ghetto Cowboy Part 2. I pretty much did Part 1 with a porno director, and we did him just because it was fun, and he's a porno director, and there's a bunch of chicks, blah, 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 blah. But I pretty much, did most of that. And I'm also producing the movie. I'm not going to direct it, but I will produce it. But Tanner's actually, Tanner Baird from Silver Sail is actually a very good Western director, like a Western movie director. So he's probably going to do Ghetto Cowboy Part 2, and also maybe direct the actual movie. The first one, it's good. Don't get me wrong. I'm just upset because there's not a lot of bad and ugly in it. It's all just good shit. Oh, here's Busy Bone. He's a great rapper, and he can sing his ass off. So we got him in the studio. We got him doing everything. And it's just fun, and it's good. And then here's Crazy Bone, probably the best to ever rock a mic. And that's straight up, that's what it is. There's some cats, right? But Crazy Bone, what makes him great is you have rappers, but Crazy Bone can rap and sing. And he has a wide vocal range from low, low, low to high, high, high. So he has a three, he has a three-tone harmony. I'm sorry, a three-part octave. So who else can rock the mic like Crazy Bone? Maybe I'm, because I'm with Bone and I love Bone. But I'm telling you, man, I've looked around this industry. I don't particularly like rap except for what my guys taught me. I like Wu-Tang when I'm listening. I'm in New York and I'm, that kind of shit. And I like, there are people that I do like. I like Andre 3000. I like people. But none of them could fuck with Crazy Bone because he's the best rapper walking. You can't, like running with the AK-47, like that shit, that kind of shit. First of all, he spits that so tough, and then he sings the chorus, "No, you better run," and he'll sing three-part harmonies, and he's just so good. So I think he's the best.
I love when they do that shit. I show people that all the time. I'll play those old intros, and I'm like, all right, they're about to be raw as fuck, and then we about to sing for no reason. And people look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, that's the best shit ever, that they can do both.
Yeah, and he can. And, two or three of them can. They all can't do it in the group, but they all, after so many years, learn how to do it from Crazy because he really can. I mean, he's an R&B. He's really good at what he does. So the first part of the Sons of St. Clair, it's too good or it's too nice. The second part, we got to get into a little bit of, some good and the bad and the ugly. Right? I mean, because, with most of it's coming. I mean, a lot of them are not happy.
There's been talks about a biopic like the same way Biggie's got one, Tupac's got one. There's talks about, hey, we need to, is that Bone movie going to come out, that not a documentary, but an actual movie with actors playing members of Bone? That's been a rumored thing for a long time.
Yeah, that's going to happen. Now, this thing that we're doing right now is a documentary. Generally, what happens, the documentary comes first, and then they make a movie out of it. So we're doing the documentary. Then, yes, of course, there's going to be a movie. Like, for instance, Hacksaw Ridge, which won, I don't know, the Oscar last year, the year before last, Mel Gibson, Hacksaw Ridge. That was a documentary, a true story documentary before they made it into a movie. So that's kind of the avenue we're going down. We're making a documentary so that people can know everything about Bone. Then you make the movie because everybody knows about NWA because one of them died. The other was Dr. Dre. One of them is Ice Cube, who might just kill you for looking at him. So NWA is known because of their street situation, and they've all, Ice Cube is one of the biggest writers in Hollywood. He makes a lot of big movies. And Dr. Dre, well, he's Dr. Dre. Eazy-E, he died. So if you don't have that, then you need to let people in the world know who Bone Thugs-n-Harmony is, and that's why we have the documentary coming, because people need to know. And we're going to probably get the first part of it, the Sons of St. Clair, the first part of it, the part we're showing right now at film festivals, get it out, by summer, so that people, can download it or whatever they're going to do with it. And I want to start on the Lazy Bone part very soon. And it's going to be great because I'm getting ready to go out on tour with Lazy Bone all summer. And I will have cameras all over us, everywhere. Probably one on my guitar, the little small cams. I have big cams all over the stage. So the Lazy Bone segment, Crazy and Busy, is fun and happy. Lazy Bone section is going to be fun, great. But there's going to be some downs. I mean, at the end of the day, you got a bunch of Mo Thugs that are mad or disheartened. Because let's talk about Poetic Hustlers, right? I lived with those guys. I made a record with them. Tony Tone, he said fuck the whole rap game, and he's a minister. Boogie Night, he needs help, man. I would love to check him into like AA or something and put him in a halfway house. He's drank way too much. When I saw him, I was very concerned about him. Mohart, he's still just cool as fuck. He ain't got too many problems. But those guys, they sold records, and they should have made money, but they didn't. Or, their advances, whatever they got, they spent them. Like most black people when they, it's like Motown, right? Marvin Gaye, yeah, he got an advance, but he spent it. Diana Ross, she got one too, but she spent it. Or Cadillac Records, for instance. That dude used to give them all Cadillacs. You saw the movie Cadillac Records. That's based on a very true story. he gave him Cadillac, you know. And so with Mo Thug, you know, they got money. It's like they didn't. They got advances. And you see, the other thing about it is they can't complain about it. You know why they can't complain? Because I'm going to give you money, and you're going to sign right here. Nobody put a gun to your head to give you money, and nobody put a gun to your head to sign a fucking contract. So you understand what I'm saying? So it can't be that bad. So
they all had a great opportunity. You know, and I said this to you in private. They all had a great opportunity. Even if they all had one song with Bone, they were put on a huge platform. Nothing prevented any of these guys after their career with Bone from, you know, achieving and chasing it down. Unfortunately, I do see with a lot of people around Bone that it's almost like they're waiting for Bone to make them Bone Part 2. And I mean, that's not going to fucking happen. You know, I mean, you kind of got to put yourself on. I think a lot of these guys know that now. They're late to the game. Poetic Hustlers actually are talking about doing a new record. You know, I'm always disappointed when I hear the records from, you know, the old Mo Thugs or any of the affiliates after they leave, you know, the camp, and it makes you appreciate and realize how important, you know, you guys behind the boards and in the studio are, because that fucking sound that goes away when you hear, you know, Soulja Boy is still great and I love his records, but somebody show me a post Mo Thug Soulja Boy, you know, song as good as the songs that he did while he was with that camp, and you can't. So there's something really to be said as well about the team that worked with all these guys. They're all very talented, but they're not that same type of talent once they're out of Mo Thugs, once they're doing it on their own.
And I have to tell you, I'm not tooting my own horn, but a lot of that sound had to do with me and live instruments. And
yeah, I agree.
You know, I don't like to toot my own horn, but somebody should probably toot it for me, because the reality is when I am talking to, like, Marilyn Manson or Kanye West or somebody like that, and they listen to Graveyard Shift and they go, nigga, this is, you know. But nobody does, because I don't toot it. But even Poetic Hustler, take that record, Poetic, and listen to that shit, and go let them do 5 or 6 more records. I can guarantee you this. It will not be clean like that.
No,
because I took pride in everything that I did, and it was a different era. It was a different time. It was very, very different. And if you're making a record, you need people that are really good at what they do. From the engineer to whoever's playing the key. And, you know, listen, I don't want to toot my horn. I'll let Bobby Jones and Archie Blaine toot it for me. And Lazy Bone will toot it for me. Crazy used to toot it. So I don't want to do that. But if those guys want to do a record, they should call me. I wouldn't charge them a dime. I would go to Cleveland and make a record for them, and that's just real because I love them.
I think everybody would love to hear that. I heard, you know, Soulja Boy, I think, tried to reunite Poetic Hustlers, and of course, I don't believe Tony Tone was involved with that piece. And I was happy to hear Soulja Boy and the Poetic Hustlers do a new song, but the first thought
let me tell you something.
This isn't the same. It's not the same.
Well, let me tell you something. First of all, Poetic Hustlers and what's his name? We were just talking about him. Poetic Hustler and
the song they did with Soulja Boy.
Soulja Boy. They should never do a song together, and I'll tell you why. They're such different artists. They should not be a group. If Soulja Boy's going to do a record, he should be a solo act. Poetic Hustlers, they need to be a group, but not with Soulja Boy, because it won't work. Their different sounds will not work together, and that's a fact.
Beyond the harmony for the fans, we celebrate. Uploading new videos every Thursday, so join